Was Browney froze at the worst time possible? Good afternoon and welcome to a very late Leeds United latest here on the West Yorkshire Football Show. That was the most impromptu introduction I've ever had to do ever because Browney's just miraculously frozen over on the screen. So thank you all for waiting around for us. This was originally scheduled at 9:30 and I've been out late, so I am making my way in now. So I have no idea what the original first topic was. I hope Browney's doing well. I am doing very well as well. He is coming back in. I can see him on a second screen. That literally was the worst timing ever. Stephen Brown.
Hello, I'm here. Can you hear me? Apparently I'm Jay now. Let's get that swapped over straight away.
That was totally and utterly unexpected, mate. Thank you for that.
Do you know what? I don't know what happened, but it started flashing. And then I was like, uh-oh. I don't know if people can see me, hear me, what is going on, but I did hear you take over, mate. You stepped into hosting duties very nicely. Welcome along to Leeds United latest here with myself, Stephen Brown, and joining me as ever to discuss all things Leeds United is, of course, Jason Booker. Back from your jollies, mate. Did you have a good time?
We did. For anybody that hasn't been, I can only recommend Lanzarote to the absolute degree. If you go to the right parts, it's not Lanzarote. It's beautiful. Lovely, lovely island. Lovely winds that kind of carry over the sun. So it takes that edge off, it being red hot. Yeah. Adults only, hotel, super quiet, super chill. It was bliss. And I managed to see 2 of the 3 Leeds games while we were there. And I watched the highlights of the Augsburg game as well. So yeah, pretty happy, mate. Got back yesterday morning. So.
Excellent. Yeah, I was away for the weekend, so I was on highlights again for the. I say again, it's the only one I've had to watch highlights of for the Augsburg game. We're getting very, very close to the new season, so get your comments in. I can see some already. We'll get to those. Thank you so much. Pop a like on the video and please do get subscribed to the channel just to give you a heads up as well. If you've not joined us before, myself and Jay, we will be doing post-match, instant match reactions to all Leeds United's games this season. Certainly if it's not straight after the 90 minutes, it's normally within the next day or so. But generally speaking, we get on straight away. So please do hit the notification bell so you don't miss our take on all Leeds United's games this season. Jay, very close now. Very, very close pre-season is done, but there's still a lot happening off the pitch with the squad. You'll have seen on the thumbnail what we're going to discuss in tonight's show, but let's just kind of round off that kind of final pre-season game as it was. It was Leeds United 4, Augsburg 0 in the final pre-season game at Ellen Road. Very comfortable, very composed. I'd really, really disgustingly bad internet over the weekend. So what was happening is I was kind of on the Twitter feed. It would load up about 10 seconds of a highlight and then stop. And it was driving me mad. So I was literally like running down because we were away in Wales, and I was like running down to like the main complex to like hook up their Wi-Fi purely to like finish downloading Leeds United videos. Ever the fanatic, but yeah, comfortable 4-0 win. A very impressive pre-season it's been. Certainly gets the hype going for the start of the season. I know both of us only seen the highlights, but what do you make of that as a scoreline, as a performance? What I'm kind of sensing with Leeds at the minute is we just look so comfortable, so solid. Everyone's tactically kind of plugged in, and it, I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. When you consider since Farke arrived, this is probably the most settled pre-season in terms of what we've had to do with the squad that we've had. We've not had to kind of turn over a huge number of players. We've not had loads of key players leave. So from that point of view, it's kind of represented on the pitch and the performances and the results we've had in pre-season.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the most kind of calm we've had because of the turnover that we've had to do in comparison to the others. So yeah, we've still got a little bit of turnover. So there's still the likes of Joe Piroe, Ladja Ramazani, and a couple of others that we need to move on. But it's not the same 10 in like it were a year ago. Yeah. The year before that, we obviously had to rebuild on the back of then Rutter and Somerville and Archie Gray leaving. The year before that was us coming down from the Premier League and everything that went on that season. So you're absolutely spot on. It's been a really calm pre-season. I think that Leeds United have had the best window of the whole Premier League, if I'm honest. I really do. We've moved on the right players. We've got people. And I know we can go back and forward on the loans and all the rest of it, and we'll talk of that. But we've still got decent fees in for the right players, Gellart, Strike. Loans are a way of kind of moving the book amount down the line a little bit. I really like this Joe Piroe deal. I know we're going to get into that. I think it's a great. It's very reminiscent of Jadon Anthony to Burnley and a year ago, and the situation that they found themselves in with that. So I think it's been a great window. The signings that we've made, all four of them, I'm going to count Elvedi in all four of them, have improved us. They've actively improved probably the starting 11. Elvedi comes in, I think, expecting to replace Joe Rodon. I really do. I think we've got serious competition in that back line now. Yeah. So, I'd say the only other team that comes comparable to what we've done this window is Tottenham. And I still don't know whether you can really say how Tottenham's going to land when it all settles. We feel settled and established in and amongst the great moves that we've done. So I'm absolutely buzzing. And just to come to the game, I saw enough of the game to kind of get a grip, and I saw Daniel Farke's comments afterwards. He wasn't happy with the performance, and I can understand some of the bits that he wasn't happy with, and he says that on the back of winning 4-0, not conceding a goal. So, there's loads more to come. I'm delighted with where we sit going into this first game. We feel extremely solid. We look like a Premier League team. We look like we're a competition for anybody that we face. We've faced Manchester United and Liverpool during pre-season and come away with losing to neither of them. I'm not going to consider a penalty shootout loss and a friendly a loss. We look good. We look really good, mate. And we're going to lose games this season. Of course we do. All teams lose games, and in and around where we're going to be in the table, we're probably still going to lose nearly as many as we win. It'll be close. But we're not going to be out of games. We're not going to be getting beaten 3 and 4. We're going to be in games every single week. So, yeah, I'm delighted, mate. Really delighted.
Brilliant. I'm going to read out some of the comments now just to make sure I don't skip anything. And we'll kind of get into the nitty-gritty of them kind of topics specifically in a bit. One, why hasn't the Elvedi deal announcement been done yet? Gav, night shift. Yeah, indeed. Exactly. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Tariq's overhead kick for a goal. I mean, he is ridiculous. I mean, he is just absolutely ridiculous. I don't think I can ever remember, because obviously there's a large part of the fan base that was, absolutely loved Pascal Stroke. I don't think I've ever seen a fan base kind of get over that kind of thing as fast as when people have watched this guy in pre-season for Leeds. He to me, he just looks like an absolute Rolls Royce. I was saying something at the weekend, or I don't know if it was us talking actually. God, I can't remember who I was saying it to. I was like, I can't believe this guy hasn't been picked up by. I mean, like, look at Liverpool. Liverpool desperate for defenders, centre backs, and I'm like, how does someone like that escape these scouts? I mean, I guess it's like the move before the move, but it's like, I'm like, I do find it staggering when you see
it's a mad one. I mean, Brighton arguably should have gone and got Tariq over Pascal, really. Now, maybe they're looking for more of a backup option behind the players that they've already got. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm not a big fan of Araujo, who Liverpool have just had. I think Tariq's better than him. I think Tariq's genuinely better than him. So I think you're absolutely spot on, mate, with what you're saying there. And yeah, it's a mind. But maybe it's a testament to, Parag and Adam Underwood and, the club have been able to sell this project and sell where we're going and, looking. We are still a massive club. Within a few years, we're going to have a 52,000-seater stadium. Tariq knows he's going to play week in, week out. There's an argument as well that Tariq might be the best centre-back we've got. We'll see as the time goes on. So it's not just Pascal that he goes in front of. It might be the other two as well, because he looks a level above him, doesn't it? It looks like when Stack's on his full form in the midfield, and that's what it looks like. It looks like a different level of player, and that's what we need to do. We need to pick them up and to be able to go on and produce what we hope will be a really good season. A lot of people are picking us to be top 10. I'm trying to stay not on the fence, but I'm trying to stay a little bit more grounded because I still recognise the fact that the Premier League's going to be tough, but there's a lot of teams in Europe, a lot of new managers, a lot of unknowns, a lot of unknown recruitment. I've seen Crystal Palace made a signing. Crystal Palace, it was one of the teams that were down there. I thought that's a really worrying signing. Another really worrying signing where I think, that's not a signing that tells me you're going to finish above 14th. You know what I mean? And we're not doing that. We're replacing the outgoing players with real top quality. So there's a lot to be excited about.
Well, it was interesting as well because I saw someone mention about Strauch. I don't think he's played many minutes for Brighton in pre-season, and he's picked up an injury. And yeah, you do wonder if it's one of those things that's going to definitely work out in our favour. Yeah, I did like that comment as well. That Farker made about Joe Salah in regards to Joe Rodon's new flying winger effort. Absolutely superb. Loved that. James Trafford, full outing for him as well, as a little compilation of bits and pieces that I saw going around Twitter, and again, just looks on a completely different level to anything we've seen in goal for Leeds United. And again, I'm kind of questioning how kind of, Newcastle didn't pull the trigger, or Chelsea, or Villa. Now Villa, I know they're going for Suzuki, but I would be a lot happier with Trafford than Suzuki, I think. So it's all looking good. Slight concern, Willie Gnonto's picked up an injury. Could be putting 2 and 2 together with this. I don't know, but there was an article flying around, I forget where it was, saying that all that's preventing Gnonto being sold at the moment is the big sell-on clause that his previous team.
We've had it for a year, haven't we? We're 2 years. We've talked about.
Apparently, but apparently he's injured now. So obviously those attacking options, it does come into question again. But in terms of how that team are looking, for me, it just feels so settled. I think you bang on as well with the amount of disruption, new managers and turnover that's going on in the rest of the league. Big opportunity there. Wanted to kind of move on to a big discussion point, triggered by the potential sale of Joe Piroe. I think he's had his medical today, so I think it's basically done, just not announced yet. And kind of dreaded words of the Leeds United fan for the last few years, going back all the way to the relegation loan releases that the players kind of triggered, and it seemed like every 3 days you were hearing another player going out on a loan, not getting a fee. Obviously, all of the PSR stuff and now the SCR stuff. You wanting that money to come in to help you with your outgoings. Sebbo now, obviously he's going. That looks as if that's going to be a loan with an option. Will that option ever get triggered? We don't know. Joe Piroe now, it looks as if it's going to be an obligation should West Ham get promoted. And it's a real interesting one because his contract expires next season. Leeds have got the option to trigger an extension. But then if West Ham didn't get promoted, then what happens there? Are you going to trigger an extension for someone you're going to release? Or do we have to trigger the extension now?
We have to trigger it now.
We have to trigger it now, don't we?
I read about that the other day, and we have to trigger that before he goes into this contract. And then there'll be, Joe Piroe will already agree a contract should the obligation come into effect with West Ham before the deal gets agreed. So everything will kind of already be set in stone. Are you all right with me kind of just talking about this now?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think Sebbo now will come to, because I think that's a different conversation and a different chat. So this situation with Joe Piroe, so many people have said, why can't we get a fee? And we're not the only team that have to do deals like this. I made the case about Jadon Anthony a year ago, earlier on in the stream, but a year ago, Burnley had to agree to an obligation to buy Jadon Anthony to take him on loan for the season from Bournemouth. Now, they won't have wanted to do that, but the only way that they could have got the agreement to that deal was to have put that obligation in there and then just deal with it in a year's time.
Yeah.
We all said, well, they're screwed because they've gone up now with Jadon Anthony on the books and they can't do anything about it. Tammy Abraham did the same thing at Villa. Luis Openda did the same thing at Juventus. It's a way of being able to move the associated fee 12 months down the line to try and get round this SCR, PSR bullshit that we all have to kind of exist in. And the reality is Leeds United want 15 million for a player that's got 2 years left on his contract with this extension. And the only way that we can get that because the fact he's sat on bench for a year, and we paid 15 million for him 2-3 years ago now. So he's not worth 15 million really, but we've managed to negotiate that deal because we've given them the get out of if you miss out on promotion for whatever reason, which they shouldn't. If you do, you don't have to buy him. And the truth is, West Ham won't want him in a year's time. You know, I've got a good friend of mine who's a West Ham fan, and I've been having this conversation with him. But for them, it's worth it because 250 million are coming through the door, and they can just think, well, we've had to offset that 15 million as part of getting promoted because Joe Piroe will help them get promoted. So I think we have to see this as a really good deal. I think it's a really good deal because I think without it, I don't think you find a championship team that's able to pay his wages. That's number one. He's on 45 grand a week, I believe he is. So there's not many championship teams that can compare that. That's the level that he's at. So he's not going to get a move to Ipswich. Look at how they're moving in the window. He's not going to get a move to Coventry, and he won't want to move to Hull. I don't think Hull could probably pay 15 million anyway, but even if they could, I don't think they'd want to go there. So then he's left with going back to maybe the Dutch leagues, in which they can't afford 10 to 15 million. We'd be talking about a transfer fee, I think, of between 6 and 9 max up front. So I think it's a great deal. West Ham should walk that league. I mean, looking at that attack, it's a joke. You know, Manor Solomon there, Jared Bowen, Joe Piroe's going to be in there. They've still got Tati, they've still got Pablo, who's got an injury, but you know, James Ward-Prowse were on their bench, who's a bit of a cheat in Championship. So they should be Mavropanos at centre back, Browney. Like they're going to be a serious force. They should breeze it really. So I think it's a great deal for Leeds.
Yeah. I want to come to some of your comments. Thank you so much for these, Martin. Such a relief to tune in to you guys for intelligent discussion, tinged with some Yorkshire spice and a bit of rock and roll attitude. West Ham have bought Piroe on favourable terms to Leeds as I. Yeah, thank you so much for that, Martin. Really appreciate that. Hammer, hello. Gav, Piroe deal good in my opinion. Not sure how long Nuno will last there. Can see Eddie Howe in, especially if Amanda comes in. Now that's a really interesting shout. Amanda Staley, she buys West Ham. I mean, that is that's.
I don't know whether Eddie will take that step down.
No, I guess that's the other side of it, isn't it? Yeah. And Hammer guaranteed goals in the Championship regarding Piroe. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly seen because there was reports a few days before saying the price tag was putting teams off. So Leeds were clearly holding out as best as they could for that kind of a fee, and hopefully via this we'll get that full fee, because he was in a tricky position with Piroe, weren't we? Because like you say, wages quite high. He's a funny player, is Piroe, because of the type of player he is, and he's got a lot of positives, but there's a lot of parts that he doesn't kind of really fit into the kind of what you have to be almost as a striker these days. So I don't think teams are desperate for him.
Yeah, no, you spot. I was watching Cardiff Wrexham last night, and they've got Kiefer Moore up front of Wrexham, and like Joe Piroe's a way better striker in the Championship in terms of guaranteeing you goals. But if you then step up to the Premier League, there's an argument that Kiefer Moore's more of a suitable proposition for a Premier League team because of the physicality that's involved. You know, so it's what I said to my friend who's a big West Ham fan. I said, you get him into the right positions, he'll score you a hatful of goals. He's great on both feet. He's a fantastic finisher. He's the most natural finisher we've had at Leeds since Chris Wood and Ross McCormack, I'd say. Like he's an unbelievably good finisher. But he will do very little of the pressing. He'll do very little in build-up. He can't hold the ball up. He's not strong. Considering his stature, he's not strong at all. He's clever in half spaces. He can pick a pass, but he's got so much to do to get anywhere near Calvert-Lewin, and he's not even really replicable to Lucas Mecha. And we will, I think, now once Piroe goes, go out and get another. We have to go out and get another player that can play in them areas of the pitch. So, I think he's a very, very difficult player to kind of work around. Unless he seriously develops his game, or he goes to a team that are going to dominate the ball way more, he will never be able to work in the Premier League.
No, and it was interesting because I remember the Everton opening game was probably his best overall game, and it was because kind of Everton let him do Piroe stuff. Really, they let him kind of have the ball on the half turn and spraying those passes out. But even in that game, he didn't have any chances. He didn't really kind of have anything kind of on that front with it. What's his kind of Leeds legacy for you? I do feel a bit kind of not sorry for him, I guess is the wrong word, but it's almost like this is where it gets like a bit disposable with players. Like, right, we needed you for that job, and then you can bugger off now, and we get some money in for you. And I really was hoping he could make the step up last year. I remember there's probably a show in the summer 12 months ago where I was like, I'm backing Piroe to make the step up. I just thought that with his technical ability and that finishing ability, there'd be something there for him. But I mean, the Premier League, the way it is with the physicality side of it, he was just never gonna do it. In terms of kind of how he'll get on at West Ham, what do you think? Do you think he'll go in and he'll get them 20 goals and fire them to promotion? Do you think, or is it going to be a bit trickier to kind of get him in there? I mean, how does he fit in with Tati? Is that going to be two up front, or what? I mean, what's going to happen there?
I think it's a really interesting one. Just talking on his Leeds time quickly, and I were in the same bracket as you. I thought we'd get him in the right positions. He'll still score between 6 and 10 goals. I think is what I said. Maybe a little bit of naivety. You forget, maybe as well. We can give Patrick Bamford a bit more credit as to the job that he did as a Premier League striker for Leeds United for a few years, because your mind gets warped, of the off the ball work and all the nasty stuff that comes with being a Premier League striker that Piroe just can't do for us. I think his legacy will forever be he was unbelievable at Championship level. He scored a hatful of goals for Swansea before coming to Leeds. And I loved watching him, if I'm honest with you. I really, really liked him. I had the luxury of meeting him at Thorpe Arch as well. He's a lovely guy. He's a really, really nice guy. And I think he's a really lovely footballer to watch at times as well. Yeah. There was a goal that we scored towards the end of last season when we were just rollicking teams and rolling over him at Ellen Road, where Piroe got the ball in the midfield and he whipped this left foot ball behind two defenders. I think it was Stoke maybe, and onto Nonto. Nonto curled it into corner. It was a beautiful, beautiful pass. And he has got that in his locker, and we know what he can. I love the goal at Sheffield United. The third goal against Sheffield United, which just rifled it into the top corner. And I think fondly of the goal that he scored at Ipswich away early in season 1. It just really nice. Beautiful, just so swept the ball in. Loved watching him. Really, really, really. He'll go down for me as somebody that I fondly remember in a Leeds shirt. He really will. What he'll do for West Ham, I think he'll do exactly what he's always done at Championship level, if I'm honest. I think, and I said this to my mate, I said he'll frustrate you at times. You'll be like, he don't offer enough, and then out of nowhere he'll score a goal, and that's what he's there for, and that's what some strikers are like, innit? And I think he'll play well off of Solomon. Solomon will know his game as well, which is good. Solomon scored a typical Solomon-looking goal. I don't know if you saw it right into the top of the goal. He's scored that goal so many times for Leeds. I think Bowen will love feeding him. I think he'll play well off a pressing striker. If anything, it'll suit him more than Leeds did. Will having a presser like Tati, because he didn't have that really. Even when we had Rutter, it didn't really suit in that kind of way that it will do with that. So I think he'll score goals for fun. I think we're talking about him getting 20, 25 easy. Yeah, absolutely. We talk about sliding doors moments in football sometimes. And do you remember when he came on against Man United at home and that shot? And you just wonder if something like that just goes differently. He scores that and just somehow it kind of, triggers a run or something. But those are the margins. I'm sad for him, in a way, because I really like him.
I got the impression he really, really wanted it to happen from the Premier League level.
Came into I know people take a lot from this or not, I don't know, but came in at the beginning of the last pre-season and won all the bleep tests. He would have fit in the group and all that, and that's not really his nature. And he did look like he was going to really give it a go, and he started the season obviously. But we very quickly saw, not just the Arsenal game, because the Arsenal game is a tough one, but we very quickly saw that the level up to Calvert-Lewin was massive. And, when people label at the door of Daniel Farke that he only sticks with his favourites, I can point to so many different examples. And Joe Piroe is one of them, because Piroe got in above all else. And even when others said that he should have been dropped in the Championship, he stuck with him because he was the right man for the job, given the circumstances that were around him. As soon as he wasn't the right man for the job, he was out for somebody else that was. And that somebody was Calvert-Lewin. So Yeah, I hope he smashes it, mate. Every time I see Joe Piroe score, just like several others that did so much for us, and he did. You know, he helped. They were a massive part of getting promoted. I'll be buzzing for him, and I hope he gets West Ham promoted.
Yeah, absolutely. Gav, if you take Piroe's 15 million, our current net spend has just dropped to 27 million. And as he mentions there, Solomon and Bowen feeding him. Yep, so it sounds tasty. Martin, interesting take here. If Joe Piroe had scored 16 goals in the Prem and Brighton offered 40 million for him, he'd have left like a shot. Fond memories and wish him well. Don't like the sound of his agent. Interesting. So in terms of the outgoings generally, what we're doing in terms of outgoings, I was having a little cheeky look on the transfer net market and stuff to see what we do, and I think I don't know. I don't think we're bad sellers. I think what we've had to do is negotiate out of some tricky cul-de-sacs like Jack Harrison cul-de-sacs and even Piroe to a degree. I mean, there was rumours at the time when we signed him, it wasn't Farke's first choice. Everybody was saying he's not really a Farke type striker, and it was one of those things where it was like, if this guy can't adapt to life in the Premier League, it's going to be a headache because of the wages and who's going to pay the fee. So I think we've got it's that bit where you're transitioning from a Championship team to a Premier League team, and you're trying to balance all that stuff. We had a load of players from the last time we were in the Premier League that weren't good enough, that we were trying to get rid of. So I don't think we're necessarily bad sellers. I just think it's very difficult situations that we've tried to negotiate.
Do you remember who we wanted?
Oh God, this is going to annoy me because it went on and on and on, didn't it? God, who did it?
We wanted Shay Adams, didn't we? It was Shay Adams.
Was it Shay Adams?
Shay Adams, and then the other lad that were at Southampton who ended up. We nearly got him in on loan. I can't remember him now either. But Shay Adams was the first one.
Yeah.
And then we wanted... God, where did he end up going? It went on and on and on, and we weren't sure whether we were going to be able to do it in Premier. It was Cameron Archer. And it went on and on and on and on. And he was the one that we really wanted, and we ended up with Joe Piroe. I could just see Gav's put it in as well. But yeah, we ended up with Joe Piroe as like the kind of like second option, really, because you spot on. I think Leeds have negotiated this really well. I think what's happening with the fans' perception of it is we're still reeling from all these loan clauses and how bad the previous transfers were over the last 3 or 4 years. So everything that we do then is under this microscope of, another loan, or it's a shit deal. The truth is we're negotiating with the situation that we find ourselves in as best we can. We don't have that many luxury items, and the ones that we do, guys, you don't want to sell. You know, if we were sat here now talking about Anton Stack going out, or Ethan Ampadu going out, or Dominic Calvert-Lewin going out for 40 or 50 million, we'd all be like, like we're in trouble, like we need to replace them. We've not got that degree of player below that really can shift a lot of return. The ones that we have, Pascal Struijk has gone, and we've massively replaced them. There is an angle maybe that you could look to sell Jayden Bogle for 30 million and replace him for 15, but you don't want to do too many at once. You know what I mean? And then the ones down from that, you're talking maybe Dan James are not going to fetch. Brendan Aronson with a year on his contract, not going to fetch. So it's a tricky balance to navigate. I think we're doing all right. I think Joe Gellart for 6.5 million is great business. Yeah. I think Pascal Struijk's quite good business, if I'm honest for you. With 18 million with 1 year left on his deal, don't think it's a bad deal at all. Getting a fee, and I was talking with somebody, I can't remember if it was you or somebody else offline the other day, but getting rid of Jack Harrison for a fee in itself is ridiculous. But bear in mind, we saved, I think it was 7.2 million in 2 years worth of wages at 70 grand a month, 70 grand a week. That's 7.2 million, I'm sure it is. I'm sure I worked out the other day. So it's not just as blanket as we've not got a fee for Jack Harrison, or we've not got much of a fee. We've saved 7.2 million that goes onto the books of what we can spend in wages. So Harry Wilson at 70 grand a week, I believe he's on 70, 80 grand a week, is basically free in comparison. Free wages, free transfer, because Jack Harrison were his wages before. So,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's the wages are massive as well. Aren't they? It's like Peru now. That's 40 grand off. Which is it's incredible and can be put elsewhere into the team. I want to bring a graphic up, Jay, about the net spend. I believe this was in the Athletic. This is where we're kind of looking at the moment. Now, this is before Elvedi is confirmed, so you can probably stick another 8 million or 9 million, whatever that fee is going to be on there. And we can see kind of Leeds' position there. Now, there was rumours, obviously, that it was looking at Leeds were going to be able to spend about 100 million. If that is the case, we've still got a nice chunk of change, maybe 50 or so million after that. And that's without finding out what happens with, Ramazani, for example, and whoever else might be on that list. And it's just interesting, isn't it? Because we're in that bracket. Obviously, when you get promoted, you have to splash the cash to give yourself a chance. Now, Ipswich are doing that. Ipswich are trying to give it a real go. Apparently, Ipswich, they've spent 153 million. So that's graphics just slightly out of date. And they're nearly set to overtake the record amount spent for a promoted team.
Wow.
The record was Sunderland last year. And I am a little bit confused as to how Ipswich are doing it, because they were in the Premier League. They spent a chunk of change before. They went down. They had a 0 net spend, so they didn't make a lot from sales. And then they've come up and they're probably going to be spending 170 million, probably by the end of it, maybe even more. So I don't quite know how that figures. But in terms of looking at that, are you comfortable with what Leeds have done? And do you think, like you've said, strikers a priority now, it feels, bolster that attack a little bit more. We've got a backup goalkeeper to do, left wing back, will we do something there? Hopefully, but is it a position you can get away with, Jay? Can you get away with it? We're not in Europe or anything. Is it enough with what we've got to kind of muddle through that position? But yeah, what do you make of that kind of net spend chart and where we're at in that regard?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, Leeds. We can talk about Ipswich maybe as a separate entity, but I would much rather see us go about our business being effective for what's going to improve the squad. However that looks is irrelevant to me. Harry Wilson will possibly be one of the best signings that we make this season in a free transfer. Nico Elvedi, I don't think Leeds fans realise as a general whole how good Nico Elvedi is. He's I think he's made 70 appearances for the Swiss national team. He's in his prime. He's been Mönchengladbach captain for years. He's a proper top quality centre back. And he could have gone. I can't believe Newcastle have not gone in for Elvedi. He just screams Newcastle with the situation that they find themselves in. He's a top player. I think he's he's definitely a big upgrade on Bornau, who I also liked, by the way, but he really competes with Joe Rodon and Jacobiol. And that was for peanuts. 6.8 million for a player like him. It's nothing. It's throwaway money in the Premier League. And then we've spent the money where we've needed to spend it, and I think we will spend a fair bit more as well. I think there's another at least 2 sizable transfer fees to come in, and then probably a backup keeper. That's what I think. A striker, maybe another attacker of some descript, which will see Nonto or James move on. I think, could talk about Nonto. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm not concerned because we've not spent loads. I'd be concerned if the transfers didn't feel right, but they feel right. Yeah. The development of the players within the team that were already there feels right. Sean Longstaff coming into his own. Anton Stack another year of Premier League football, Jayden Bogle stepping up another year, Jacobiol a full season behind him, and the areas that we really, really needed to sort, Pascal Schroik replacement and a goalkeeper replacement were the 2 big ones. We've spent money really where we needed to do it, and we've done it with massive potential resale value for both of them as well, which is important. So what's not to like from a Leeds perspective right now? Of course, we'd like to see loads of big, more flashy moves, but it'll happen in the right time. And I trust what the club have done so much over the time where the 49ers have been in, that they'll find the right time to go out and then make these signings happen. And if we don't sign a left wing back, as an example, a backup left wing back, we're not going to get them all.
No.
You know what I mean? We're not. So, Linau can come in and do a job there. James Justin will probably find himself playing there as much as we need. We can't have too big of a squad either, where you're then starting to get players being upset that they're not playing. We found
I agree. Well, I've heard people talk about, we need 6 signing. I'm like, never in a million years are you going to get 6. And, it's ridiculous.
Just on Ipswich quickly, because I don't want to kind of have I think they're giving themselves a chance, mate. I said 6 weeks ago, maybe now, they stand no chance. Coventry maybe are the only ones that really have an opportunity to stay up. As the season draws closer, and I watch, it's not just the signings in terms of the numbers, they're getting players in. It's the players that they're signing. Yeah. If you look at some of the experience that they're gelling together with quality, that they've got. I think they've got an half a chance. If there's a slip up for a Crystal Palace, a Fulham, and they could end up being 2 again, like last season. They stand a chance. I really like Issa Diop, a 29-year-old, and he's mass amounts of Premier League experience. I really liked Lukic from Fulham. I think super smart signing. I like Enciso to a certain degree. I think he's got a bit to prove at Premier League level, but he knows Ipswich has been on loan there before, and he's shown he can do it in the Premier League. If Leeds signed Enciso, I'd be fairly happy with it because it gives us that creative spark in that area of the pitch. They need a striker. I know they signed this Brazilian lad. Look, it might just land and might be perfect, but...
Well, they were linked with Embolo today.
Great sign. What a great signing that'd be. Yeah, Premier League unproven, but so loads of Premier League strikers that come in and then smash it. So they've given themselves a chance, mate. They've still got some work to do. They signed a keeper that we looked at as potentially as a backup. He's going to be massive. They need him to come in and be a bit like Rolf Swass for Sunderland last season, because Sunderland massively overachieved. People know what I think about Sunderland, and they had a huge part to play in that was having a great goalkeeper. So if Ipswich can just put a few of them bits together, and like I say, there's a lot of change further up the Premier League table. There's points on the points are available for them teams down at the bottom. I think even if they 3 go back down, I think it'll be 34, 35 plus in terms of points.
Again, Gav says here, just pointed out Sunderland, the 25 million signings fallen through after a failed medical. Apparently, Sunderland having a bit of a shocker in the window. Yeah. So far, I don't know if it's the European thing capping at 75% revenue, all that's kind of doing the damage there. A couple of comments. Superman, have West Ham announced Piroe just bought shirts with his name on, didn't know he was going.
That can't be true. That can't, no, Superman, surely, after Piroe's not played all the last season and then all the rumblings around noise and stuff, you can't have gone out and bought a Joe Piroe number 10 shirt. I don't believe that. That's debating. Sure.
We want proof. Follow our socials and upload a picture, please. That'd be great. And Gav says transfers to go absolutely bonkers. Ipswich second highest spenders. The thing is with the promoted teams, they've got kind of tangible examples of what you need to do in the shape of Sunderland and Leeds. Coventry have brought their kind of record spend 3 times over this summer. They were always going to, I suppose, being a newly promoted team that's not played in the league for 25 years. But yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of people, and I think the majority, ourselves included, have kind of written off. It was very easy to kind of write off those teams because they're not established Premier League teams in any way, shape, or form. But if you get those parts of the puzzle right, and if someone messes up, if a club messes up, there is a chance. It's gonna be really interesting. I don't think they're just going to be. Hull, I still think will be, but I think Coventry and Ipswich, particularly Ipswich, I don't think it's just going to be roll over and die. I think they're good. They're operating too smartly to do that. It's going to be super interesting, I think.
I think it was very fair to expect them to, Ipswich and Hull, this is, at the beginning of the window to really struggle. Yeah. I remember saying to you, I watched Ipswich a lot towards the back end of the Championship season. The Championship's great towards the back end when playoffs are all going on and the battle for top 2 and stuff. They were really poor. They're really, really average. And when I was thinking about some of their players that were in that team going up against Premier League opposition. I was just thinking these stand no chance. But they've gone about then. I'm just reading the chat there. I don't think that's Jonathan David. I think it's
someone else mentioned it earlier.
Promise David, isn't it? But yeah, Ipswich looked miles off it. But things change. So what we said back then, I think we're fair, mate. I don't think it's that we were just being lazy with it. It's just what we saw in terms of what they had was miles off it. But Ipswich have gone about it and have recruited really smart. The likelihood is they still will go down. But they've given themselves a fighting chance now that they didn't have. I think Hull are completely screwed. I think Hull are so far off it. You could be talking, if it goes bad early, then being like record points total bad. Yeah. They are miles off it.
Yeah, no, they really are. Getting into some interesting rumours. Max Aarons. It's funny actually because I think you saying it on the last show how we love to keep those names coming, don't we, from the past. Max Aarons. I mean, it's kind of, I don't think it's really worked for him at Bournemouth, hasn't it? I don't think he's kind of pulled up trees there. Obviously worked with Farke before. It'd be less than 10 million to get that deal done, can play right and left. I don't have any judgment on it because of James Justin. I'm like, I will not even judge it one iota because nobody expected him to come in and do what he's done. But Max Aarons, I mean, where do you stand on that? If that deal got done and it's less than 10 million, would you be comfortable with that?
Yeah, well, I saw somebody say the other day, it really made me laugh, like, oh, he's just another James Justin. And it's like, well, James Justin being freaking brilliant. What unbelievable.
Sign him now.
This is the way that I see it, right? You cannot just fill all of the spots with players that expect to start all 38 games. You just can't. Now, Max Aarons has had a difficult couple of seasons, but he's shown capabilities of being a decent Premier League fullback. He can play both sides, which would be really beneficial to Leeds United. He can even play in the centre as well. Daniel Farke knows him really well. His wage demands are not going to be excessive. The transfer fee is also not going to be excessive. What's not to like about it when we have a top 4 left back already in the squad in Gabby Goodmanson? This is the problem with trying to sign a backup left back, right? A specialised backup left back that's as good as Gabby Goodmanson is going to cost most of the time. I know we've got Gabby Goodmanson for real too, but it's going to cost 25-30 million, and he's going to expect to start every game. Now you've got Gabby Goodmanson in the squad. We can't sign another player just as good as him in that position. It's too specialised. You know, and all the other good ones are going to be guaranteed first team football somewhere just as good as us, if not better. So you have to find different, pegs to fit the holes. That's why, Gianni Alioski was so beneficial. That's why Stuart Dallas was so effective for us, and amongst many others as well. So for me, if Daniel Farke trusts him and he thinks he can maybe rebuild him, and we get him in for, I bet Aaron's costs no more than £5 million. Yeah. And his wages, 40-50 grand a week, probably one of our lowest wages. What's not to like about it when he's going to then be a backup option anyway, and all that we can hope to get from him is more than we thought we were going to get?
Yeah.
Homegrown as well, but matters.
Yeah.
And given his age and given the kind of the bad run that he's had over the last couple of seasons, we could find ourselves in a situation in a year's time being able to sell him for 15-20 million quid if he has a good time with it. So I love it, mate. I think he's smart.
Yeah, it definitely fits what we've seen from the recruitment team. Gail, welcome along. Hello, good to have you on live with us. Well, I do know one left wing back that may be available very shortly. I don't know if you've seen this, Jay.
I've not seen anything today. I've not
seen anything. So I think this kind of popped up yesterday, but a man from the past, blast from the past, Junior Firpo. Would you take Junior Firpo as your backup left back / left wing back?
He hasn't been linked to the league, has he?
No, I think no, not all. I think it's just there was some announcement in Spanish, I think, about him leaving or something. I don't even know. It might have been a journalist that put it up, and then some of these fans were like, oh, maybe we should go for that. And others were like, nope, don't touch it with a barge pole. Would you have Firpo back at Premier League level in 26-27 season?
No. I mean, we all fondly remember Junior Firpo now for the 2 seasons that he gave us at championship level, and it was brilliant to watch and so much fun as a marauding, attacking left wing back. I've said this many times, the worst left back at Premier League I've ever seen. Yeah. Before we started to then see a little bit more from him, and I know he had injuries, I know he had difficulties, it weren't all just quality, but then 2 seasons in the Premier League before we got relegated, he was so bad. Defensively, an absolute shocker of a player. So no.
Well, he also signed off in the right way, didn't he? He's out there celebrating in the city. It's like, that is perfect. We don't. No, don't get sucked back in, Jay. Don't get sucked back in, Jay. Jay on the chat, that is. Another very super interesting name that popped up, Jack Grealish. Did you see this one, Jay? You dropped it in the group, didn't you? But Jack Grealish, apparently, some kind of loan talk potentially somewhere. How old is Jack Grealish? Is he 30 now, Jack Grealish?
29, I think.
Is he 29? Obviously, super talented player, part of the treble-winning side at City, England international, etc., etc. Kind of started off okay. I think he had an okay season with Everton, I guess, until the injury.
He's 30. Yeah, he'll be 31 in September.
Ashley laying his cards on the table. Thanks for coming, mate. I'd take Grealish all day long, but what say you, Jay?
So, do you remember the conversation that we had a year ago about when Everton announced him?
Yes. Yeah.
I was very much then a case of, I thought it was a really, really risky signing.
Yeah.
Now, Everton could get away with that risk because they were always probably going to have enough to stay up. But I remember us talking about it, and I said I thought it'd be a real danger signing for us. Barely played, not the same player that he was, massive wages as well. Wages being a big issue. How can I really go back on that, given the fact that after maybe a sprinkling of optimism early on in the season that he had again last season, not a told you so moment, but I was right in terms of the way that it then panned out. He spent most of the season on the treatment table. I don't think he played a game after January. He was in the media spotlight for all the wrong reasons. Again, I personally don't really bash footballers when they're then injured and they're doing whatever they want to do in the spare time. But there is still a way to represent yourself as a top-level footballer that's earning massive amounts of money. Keep yourself away from a camera, for God's sake. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to be seen like that because you're bringing heat in your direction. I think, personally, this would be a really dangerous signing for Leeds. Yeah. I can understand the attraction to it, the quality, if you can get him back playing his top stuff, but the harmony that this team have got, the dressing room is really strong. What kind of character does he bring in? I don't think he's a Daniel Farke signing at all at this stage in his career. So no, I probably wouldn't. I'd probably have to say no. I think it's too risky. Risky.
Yeah, no, I lean towards that. I think it's not the kind of player we need. I think we need, he's not a pacey player, is he? So I'm looking for a bit of pace out wide. I think huge wages that we'd have to cover. I think there is something to the fact that how you conduct yourself as much. I love him as a personality and a character.
Yeah,
he's great. I think he's absolutely great. But I just think it's not the right image. I mean, Ethan Ampadu's done an interview in The Athletic today, and the one thing is hard work. I'm not saying Grealish doesn't do hard work. Look, played under Pep for years. You've got to be a hard worker to do that. But it just strikes me as it's kind of gone past that kind of moment for Grealish. Now, obviously, a few people in the chat feel differently. Jay Grealish would light us up, mate. He'd love it here, but the wages,
I think there's a fantasy around it, Brownie. I think there's a fantasy of the player that we think of, Jack Grealish, from 5-6 years ago, turning up at Leeds. But reality tells you. Now, look, he could go back to Villa on loan for the season and light it up, and then I could be wrong. But you still have to, even though there's the potential for that, you still have to balance the probability. When was the last time Jack Grealish had a good season?
Well, yeah.
You're talking 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Calvin Phillips went to West Ham on loan and was instantly kind of bombed out as a top player. Jack Grealish went to Everton last season and had a terrible season, and people are then like, oh, it's still Jack Grealish. Like, you've got to be really, really careful with this. And I think, like I said, I think the fantasy can get hold of you because there is the potential there for it. But somebody else mentioned it. For me, he's way past his day.
Yeah. As Gav says, Grealish best long behind him. There's still work to do, Jay. Forward areas. 2 weeks left of the window. Not that long to get it done. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of links out there. It doesn't feel like, there's a lot kind of coming through. However, we know how the 49ers operate. I don't think anyone had heard about Tariq Meraherovic until about 2 days before we actually signed him. So anything could drop at any time. If we didn't do anything else, for whatever reason, it doesn't work out, you're keeping your powder dry, whatever. Have we got enough, do you think, as it stands?
Depends what you're asking for. Have we got enough to stay up? Yeah, we have. Like, I think this squad alone with Trafford, Merahovic and Wilson, even before then I mentioned Elved is in. It's done. It's just going to be announced at some point. I don't get stressed about them being announced because they just get announced when they get announced, don't they? Yeah. We know we're going to have a backup centre-back for a place by now. But, second keeper, just in Gav's comment. Second keeper's a must, but I don't think that's what you're talking about, is it? A backup keeper who's not going to play all season is not what you're talking about. If James Trafford's fit all season, it doesn't really matter, does it, I guess? But, I think we'd have more than enough to finish 15th. We need another 2. With an injection of quality to really compete with Noah Okafor and to really compete with Dominic Calvert-Lewin to break, I would say,
I'd love that
top 10 barrier.
Yeah.
We could still end up finishing 12th with that. You know what I mean? Because I think that, but we could easily, with the right 2 signings, and if they hit the ground running, we could easily finish 7th as well. So, I think we've got enough. Because I still think the goal this season is to stay up.
Yeah.
I think we'll look better than last season. I think we'll be even more competitive. I think we'll win more games. I'm just kind of side-eyeing the chat at the same time, and I've seen a few people mention it, and I've seen it again. This Rafael Leao, Rafael Leao is not coming to Leeds. I'll come on here and Dave style bare my ass if Rafael Leao finds the Leeds side in this window.
What has happened to Rafael Leao, by the way? How has it gone from like him being kind of one of the hottest prospects or, whatever, to where now he's kind of being touted around Europe? It seems like a bit of a bizarre drop off. I mean, I did a little like grok thing on it, and it was like, he seems to be getting like quite a lot of injuries now.
Injuries
are that kind of stuff. It's like,
They're a big one. I think he. I've just seen his fall out with Matt Amorim. I think he's fallen out with previous managers as well. I think he's very much a when it suits player. I think he's a complete luxury. I don't think he's a luxury that Leeds can really. I mean, obviously, if Leao was going to come in under 150 grand a week, let's say, and we could afford him, I'd say, of course, you've got to sign a player like that. That's worth the risk. That is a balance. But for me, we're better off with someone right now that's a little bit more industrial, that really wants to play for Leeds United. I think that is kind of understated at times. It's really important that we get the right characters in.
No, I agree. Absolutely agree. We've really done well with that. John, I think left winger and striker are the most important ones to do. Indeed. Just a couple of the bits and bats. I do want to say that me and Jay were coming back on Thursday, by the way. So what we'll do is we'll give a proper kind of preview to the Forest game and a look ahead to the Premier League gearing back in then. But just to kind of finish on a bit of Premier League news, you see Rodri has officially left Man City off to Barcelona, and a little bit of an interesting one with City. Big transition, quite poor in the Community Shield final. Rodri mainstay, they look a different team without him, and obviously Pep has gone, so it feels like could be a bit of a changing of the guard this season. But what did you make of that one? I
mean, I think Rodri is probably the best ever at that role. You're putting him in a conversation with Busquets, Makelele, and a couple of unbelievable other CDMs. I think Rodri tops them all. And, you know, he had his ACL and his injury right after winning the Ballon d'Or, and he didn't look the same player. And Pep came out and said he's exactly the same player. Trust me, you'll see it. And he goes to the Euros and he wins. But did he win player of the tournament in the end? I think I'm pretty sure he did. He coursed through the tournament as just an unbelievable. He's just, you can't get the ball off him. I saw an interview with Brendan Aronson the other day, and he brought him up actually. He said he's the most difficult player to play against. I think he picked him and one other. I can't remember who the other one was. And he just said he cannot get the ball off him, and he is an unbelievable player. He's like that piss-taking ex-pro that plays 7-a-side with you, that just kind of like shields the ball off you all the time. The guy's unreal, class player. Glad for him that he's got the move to Barca, because it's obviously the move that he wanted. He'll go down as a Premier League great, I think, mate. Top player. Just kind of before you kind of deflect off in a different direction before, I could go on talking about Leeds tonight all night, by the way. But I've seen a few people mention like predictions and like what your feelings are. And I know we've got 2 weeks of the season left to go, 2 weeks of the transfer window left to go, sorry. And so it's hard to kind of make a full statement on that, because mine, as I said earlier, will change very much depending on what we do. But what's your kind of gut feeling telling you in terms of if you had to put yourself on the pedestal and say a position, where would you? In
terms of a position, so I've been this is probably the most encouraged I've been. And I know fans get hyped in pre-season, but I don't think I've ever been this kind of chomping at the bit and raring to go. I just feel we're in such a good position. When we're in the Championship with Farke, there was just this like automatic pressure to like go out and get promoted and win every game, and it was, you know, so it was just kind of like we had to get on with it. This just feels like a step into the unknown, and it just feels like so many things are lining up for us. You know, the recruitment we've done, some of the other teams being in a bit of disarray, the quality of the teams that have come up. I really think a top half finish could potentially be on the cards. I would actually go along with what Gav said here, 8th to 12th. I feel like the ceiling could be like a 7th or 8th. I feel the floor, I think the lowest would be matching last season, 14th. But I think we're a better team this season. We've strengthened in 3 positions, 3 crucial positions. I think the goalkeeper alone, I'm hoping, gives us another 10 points on what we got last season or whatever. So yeah, I'm really buzzing. I really think like a sneaking into the top 10 is. But I understand what you said earlier, though. I don't want to feel like I'm expecting it or demanding it. I don't want it to come across that way. I just have this belief we can do it, but I'm not gonna kind of be, you know, kicking off if is another 14th place finish or something like, because that still secures us another year in the Premier League. But yeah, I'm very, very excited and confident about what we can do this season.
I've had a few conversations with Leeds fans about it, and I've always kind of tried to temper expectations. Not that that's going to make any difference in the grand scheme, the expectations of the fan base, but I do think there's an underlying. People don't want to say it out loud, but I think there's an expectation in the fan base that we're probably going to finish 7th this season, and I'm really cautious to just make sure that we can. Only because, not because I don't want people to dream, but because I don't want us to get rowdy when we're 12th and we've got the bottom 3 7 points behind us, because I think that is what it'll look like for a lot of the season. And if it is, that's absolutely fine, because that's where we're going to be on this trajectory. I'll be honest with you, I don't want us to get Europe. Yeah. I really, really don't. I know Gav's just mentioned it there. Europe too soon for me could do more damage. I agree with that 100 million %. Because I'm starting to understand this SCR world and the problems that it's causing clubs that are more established than us. We don't want to get there too soon. I'm telling you, I really believe this. I think Sunderland are in a lot of trouble this season. I think they're in a lot of trouble this season. Yeah. And they'll have had their moment in the sunshine when they got Europe last season and they were laughing at everybody. If they end up going down this season, they'll be absolutely kicking themselves at going too quick, too far too soon. So I'm just not that I don't want us. I want us to win every game, but it's a tricky one. Like obviously, if we manage to just burst into the top four, that'd be unbelievable. But I'd just rather just temper expectations, see us play well, us be comfortable. I'm buzzing for Saturday. I cannot wait. It feels, I'll be honest, and this is going to be a bit of a sour note, but it feels a little bit like when we came back after COVID and we'd seen all the footage of the players training and they were ready to go, and we were like, they're going to annihilate Cardiff, and we went down to an empty Cardiff City Stadium and lost 2-0. Do you remember? It kind of feels a little bit like, and I'm hoping that that's not the case.
A horrible place to go, isn't it? It's not great in terms of where we're going.
The City Ground's a tough place at the best time. My only kind of hope is that Glasnow's not got them all together yet. There's still going to be teething issues. No Elliot Anderson in there. The new signings are not bedded in and all the rest of it. They've not been able to spend as much as I don't think they really wanted to. They've not been able to get Bergvall and all the rest of it. So hopefully, if we can go there and win that game, it'll be a massive statement to start a season with.
Yeah, it would absolutely get that win on the board. Let's get some of your comments then on these predictions and whatnot. Steve, top 10 if we get signings that Farke wants. Gav, as you mentioned, Europe still too soon for me, could do more damage. Ash, we are stronger. He agrees. Jay, we were close to a European place last time. Can you imagine if we'd have actually done it? If we'd have got Europe last season, who knows what kind of a pickle we'd be in right now. It is a bit backwards when you're kind of tempering what you want to achieve in football, but that's the way they've made it. John, the priority is to stay in the Premier League, which I think we will. And Jay says Sunderland support could be their 12th man. I mean, fascinating one with Sunderland if it comes and bites. I wonder if they just think they've got enough to kind of just get through another season. But if you start throwing in the European games as well, it's a different bag.
The thing is, Browney, they weren't very good last season. I'm going to keep on banging this drum. I said it all season. If they have the same metrics, XG, and on all the ones that people bang on around this season, they will go down. They were a complete anomaly last season with the way that they managed to pick up points compared to the way that they actually played. The big chances against, the big chances created that they then, they were bottom for big chances created, but they scored goals because, they were scoring worldies and stuff. And there were big chances created against them. Most times over the course of the season, teams will score more than big chances, but Rose had an unbelievable season and the opposition missed too much. They'll go down. They'll go down if they play exactly the same. I think they're gonna be in and around it because playing on a Thursday as well and trying to balance that with the squad that they've got. We'll see. Yeah, indeed.
Good stuff. Like I say, myself and Jay will be back on Thursday. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to get a time nailed down and we'll be able to have a last look ahead of the Forest game, pick up some previews, see if we've done any business before then. Like you say, Jay, I'm just buzzing for it. I cannot wait. My entire Saturday is just going to be about that game. It's just built around it. I'm just like, that's all I care about. That is what I'm just going to be, trying to enjoy it as much as you can. It's what it's about, isn't it? It's what it's about. And, I do just one thing on expectation that's come into my head. I've said it on the show previously, but I remember Howard Wilkinson saying that the Leeds United fan base will never be happy unless Leeds are pushing it continually, ambition-wise. And things have got to be ramping up all the time. And it's kind of the nature of the beast when you're a big club and you've had a successful history or you've had a period in your history where you've achieved the pinnacle, you've reached the top, you've won league titles and trophies, and it kind of comes with that territory a little bit. And I think, we've got to be patient. We've got to be really patient as a fan base. I think we're still, like Parag said, we're still renting our place. We're still kind of consolidating our position. But we're really well run. The recruitment's spot on. Manager's doing a fantastic job. And it could just have enough momentum to end up doing something, like a Europe. And I don't know what position that'll leave us in if it does happen. But yeah, it feels like sky's the limit at the minute.
You've just got so many opportunities for points that might not be there in other seasons. because of all the changes. You know, Arsenal aside, everybody else just feels in massive flux. You know, Liverpool have got reservations around Areola. Man City have had massive changes. You know, Villa have got issues. You know, they're probably the most established, but they're still struggling financially. They're having to sell Ollie Watkins and all this kind of going on. How long can they carry on getting away with it without really recruiting? Because they don't. They've just been doing it. Then you've got Bournemouth, Brentford and
Brentford. Brentford.
No, we're looking for someone else that had changed manager. Fulham, Forest. You know, there's so many different teams in there. Newcastle. You know, these have all changed managers. Crystal Palace as well. You know, there's so much change. So there'll be so many opportunities for Premier League teams that are calm and safe, like Leeds, like Arsenal, to take opportunity. Yeah. I mean, Brentford, you could argue, have probably got one of the most settled situations, and they've got Keith Andrews in charge.
I don't know. Well, it was funny. I saw a video on TikTok, and he was ranking. He went through like a league table of how teams have done in the friendlies, and Brentford did get number one. I think they've won every match in pre-season. It's only pre-season.
Depends on the opposition, doesn't it?
Yeah, Leeds did get third in that actually as well. But yeah, it's fascinating. It really is fascinating. It could be an absolutely thrilling season. I hope so. Like I say, myself and Jay will be back to do post-match reviews, instant match reactions as well. So do keep a lookout. That it is raw and real. If you see some of the stuff we've done before. But yeah, thank you to everyone who's watched along. We'll be back on Thursday at some point as well to preview everything for the weekend. Can't wait for that one. If you've not done so already, please do smash a like on the video. Do get your comments in as well if you're watching this later, and please do subscribe to the channel. I've been Stephen Brown, with me as ever, Jason Booker. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, mate.
And we will see you again soon. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.